Yay. And then everybody has to accept, yes. And then, so for you, if you already here, welcome, good evening, and welcome to Justin. And we are so excited to share this with you tonight. And we're just going to give it 5, 6 minutes of self-practice before we start the official program to give more people a chance to be present from the beginning. So we encourage everyone to just turn off the volume, the sound, and 6 minutes self-practice, and I will let you know when we return to online here. Thank you. That was 6 fast minutes. Thank you, everyone. And I guess we should start the official program. So I know most of you. Some of you I don't know that well. So I'm Kristen, Reiki master from Henne Fritzbøger, as most of you know. And I went last October. I went to Japan with Justin Stein and Suzanne more. Met Suzanne, and yeah. And Justin and I had a great time. I had a great time in Japan, and Justin and I talked about why don't we try to put together a program for a Danish group. And it's been a lot of work. This is not easy, even though Justin's done it so many times before. It was a lot of work putting this program together, but we're happy to be able to present it for you tonight. And Justin is, well, I refer to him as like Dr. Reiki. So he did a lot of research on Reiki. He worked with Phyllis Leigh Furumoto and opened Mrs. Takata's archives. He wrote the book that Ming Fang has that is upside down. Mine is not upside down. And a lot more, but I will let Justin, yes, that book. Yeah. Um, and I will leave the word to Justin. And if there's something that Justin says that someone doesn't understand, probably in Danish, please raise your hand and I will translate it or try to translate it to Danish if there are any issues. And if you have questions, just use the little raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen, and we will have plenty of time for questions and fun and all, right? So please, Justin, over to you.
Do you maybe want to say that in Danish as well, just in case? I don't know.
Vil I gerne have, at jeg siger det på dansk også? Nick? Nej. Okay. We're good.
Okay, okay.
You're so
Well,
considerate, Justin, not like the
well,
rude Danes here, right?
I work with a lot of international groups, and I think, sometimes there's different language levels. So, okay, well, it's nice to meet you all. I think this is the most Danish people I've ever met at one time before. So it's a pleasure to be introduced to your community by Kristen. As she said, we did a wonderful trip together last autumn, and I have been running these trips for a while. We're planning this one for May 2026, which is a really beautiful time to be in Japan. We'll catch, the end of the cherry blossoms, but also the beginning of the rhododendrons and azaleas and the wisteria and the irises, hopefully, are all blooming at the same time. So it's a really beautiful time to be there. And it's also after the peak tourism season. So it's still busy, but it's not as crazy as going in April or yeah, during the kind of peak cherry blossom time. The weather is good. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. So yeah, May is like one of my favorite times to go to Japan. So I'm very happy about all of that. I have some photos and some information that I'd like to share. So let me share my screen. And yeah, as Kristen said, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can use the raise your hand option. Otherwise, I think it's hard to see you. Or you feel free to turn on your mic maybe and just interrupt me. And also, my internet recently has been a little wonky. So if I freeze, don't worry, I'll be right back. It just sometimes I need to get the internet guy to come and check it out. Okay,
Could you
so
make fill the entire screen? Yay, thank you.
yeah, yeah, that good. Okay. So these are the dates, May 12th to 20th in 2026, next year. The photo on the left is a photo I took this past May. Yeah, so like last month, 2 months ago now, maybe something like that, at Kurama Temple. So this is the temple on Mount Kurama, and you can see the cherry blossoms. These are the late bloomers, and so this is what we might catch, I think, around this time is the late blooming cherry blossoms on Mount Kurama should still be in bloom when we're there. And on the right, this is like Suzanne's background, the tree roots on the top of Mount Kurama. in the place where it is said, Usui Sensei had spent 21 days in meditation, fasting, searching for this kind of secret to spiritual peace and healing, and where after having this amazing, experience on the mountain, coming down from the mountain, injured his foot on one of these roots, blood pouring out of his toe, put his hands on and felt warmth and heat, and all of a sudden his pain went away and the blood stopped, and it was the first Reiki treatment. So it's such a special opportunity and honor for me to be able to bring Reiki practitioners from around the world to this place where Reiki started, as well as um, sharing some of what I've found in my research, and what I've learned in my graduate studies about Japanese religion, Japanese culture, and the impact and influences that it's had on our Reiki practice. On the bottom left is a photo from a Reiki share where I see Kristen in the photo. I see Suzanne too. Yeah. So this is from our group at this Reiki share last year. This is one of the opportunities we have on this trip is to share Reiki in this Japanese Buddhist temple in Kyoto, where Hyakuten Inamoto has his dojo. And on the right, this is in the hometown of Usui Sensei, Taniai, which is up in the mountains in central Japan. And you can see us here with a Shinto priest, and he leads a ceremony every month for largely for Reiki practitioners um, at the shrine that Usui Sensei and his family attended, and where there's a stone gate with the name of Usui Sensei on the gate there. So it's like one of the places kind of to connect with Reiki history. And I think a really special opportunity that a lot of, normal travelers to Japan don't really get those types of experiences or opportunities. Um, about myself, I did a PhD in the study of religion at the University of Toronto. Today, I teach in the Asian Studies program at Kwantlen Polytechnic University near Vancouver
Canadian.
in British. I'm actually American myself, but I live in Canada. I have a permanent residency here. Yeah. Um, and I'm a historian of Reiki and a scholar of Japanese religion more broadly. I wrote this book about the history of Reiki called Alternate Currents that is really, I think, the only book really of its type, looking at the development of Reiki from the scholarly perspective, the influences from North America on its early development, and how it evolved through an in-depth look at as Kristen said, I had access to the biographical materials of Hawayo Takata through her granddaughter and successor, Phyllis Leigh Furumoto. I got to work with that archive and help build that archive, as well as interviewing a lot of Takata's students, and also in the cases where they had passed away, their families, who had studied Reiki in Hawaii in the Japanese American community, as well as it moved to North America, to really look at how Reiki developed in Japan and continued to evolve as it moved to Hawaii and then North America. I've been practicing Reiki for nearly 25 years. I was originally initiated in a Takata style lineage. But since then, I've also studied Japanese style Reiki, and today I think practice kind of a blend of the two. There's certain things that I do that are more kind of Takata style, and certain things that I do that are more kind of Japanese style. And I'm happy to talk about that. One of the nice things about this trip is we have lots of time, on buses, on trains, over dinner, at lunch to chat about Reiki. And so I'm very happy to talk more about all of that at some point. And yeah, I've been leading these tours. Actually, I started leading them because at the urging of Phyllis Furumoto, she has been leading trips to Japan, or she had been leading trips to Japan for a while. And she said, I think you have a lot to offer to the Reiki community. You should start leading trips too. And so the travel agency I work with is the same one that she used to work with, and now also Joyce and Johannes, Phyllis's widow, Joyce, and Johannes Rendell, her successor, lineage bearer, together offer trips in Japan, working also with the same travel agency. Um, a little bit of a different thing that I can offer is that, I lived in Japan for a few years, most recently in Kyoto. So I know Kyoto very well. I speak Japanese reasonably well. And so I kind of have that to offer, as well as working with a Japanese language tour guide. And so we just have more kind of resources. It's a different kind of trip, I think, than what Johannes and Joyce do. Um, so this is the trip that Kristen and I worked out, the itinerary that we worked out. It's a little bit different than any trip I've ever done before. And I think every time I do a trip, this is going to be, I think, my ninth time offering a tour like this, but I've never done the same exact tour twice. It's always a little different. And the big change this time is that we're adding a night in Koyasan, which is the heart of Japanese esoteric Buddhism, the Shingon school. And it's a very, very special place. Maybe I'll speak a bit more about it in a minute when we get to day 6. But so the trip begins in Kyoto. We have a welcome dinner. We stay at a very nice hotel. We go to very nice restaurants. Oh yeah, I meant to put maybe a picture of some of the food on here too. I forgot to do that. But Phyllis told me when I was planning my first trip, for many people who are Reiki practitioners, that dedicated their lives to this practice, this might be the one time in their life where they're going to go to Japan, the one time where they're, on this pilgrimage to the birthplace of their practice. So it should be a very nice experience. It should be a comfortable experience. And so we stay in nice hotels. We eat some meals in very nice restaurants. Phyllis's tour, she would every single night was a group dinner in a very nice restaurant. With some feedback from my group, we have a few dinners together in nice restaurants and also a few nights where you're kind of on your own to eat as you like. Some people didn't like having kind of like a formal dinner every night, so I take in people's comments.
Det er faktisk en super god idé. Jeg kan godt
It,
lide,
it was just a very good idea, she said.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So after our first night where we welcome and we share a bit about ourselves, get to know each other, the next day, our first full day, we go to different Buddhist temples, Shinto shrines in Kyoto. I offer some kind of initial teachings about, Japanese culture, Japanese history, the importance of Kyoto, the influences of some of these Shinto and Buddhist practices on Reiki. And I have to confirm that this day is okay for Hyakuten Sensei, but at one night, and maybe this night, we will do a Reiki share at the Buddhist temple where he has his Reiki dojo. The following day, we will have, I believe, a charter bus. That's the way we've done it in the past, to travel from Kyoto to the area where Usui Sensei grew up. Again, we're still working out some of the details. We may have a little time in Kyoto that morning. We may do one or two, temples or castle in Gifu, that evening, but we'll spend the night there because the next morning, early in the morning, there's this Shinto ceremony that we want to attend. And so the way it worked out, it's going to be we have to kind of spend a night in Gifu, but it's also nice to kind of get a vibe that's not Kyoto, right? Kyoto, it's a wonderful city. It's a beautiful city. It's full of temples, but there's a lot of tourists. There's a lot of, it's very developed. Gifu is a much smaller region. And so it's maybe just a different side of Japan that we'll get to see. And then on the 4th day, we'll have the ceremony in his hometown at his hometown shrine. And the community there also has a Reiki share that they do after the ceremony. I've never participated in that before, so this is something new for me. But yeah, they have this ceremony every month on the 15th day of the month, which on the old calendar would have been the full moon day. And Usui Sensei was born on the 15th as well. And so they have this monthly ceremony on that date. And so we'll get to experience that with the Taniai Reiki Association, have lunch with them, have this Reiki share with them, come back to Kyoto that night. So kind of the place of Usui Sensei's birth, and then the next day, go to the place where he experienced Reiki, for the first time, on Mount Kurama. This is kind of a highlight of the trip for a lot of people, going, making this pilgrimage up the mountain, the sacred mountain, where he had his experience. Kristen also had this idea of learning to do a little Japanese calligraphy, maybe learning to write the Reiki characters. I think that's a wonderful idea. For those of you, I assume most of you at least have second degree Reiki, so you have some experience at least tracing Japanese characters when you do the distance symbol, for example. And learning with a calligraphy teacher, I think helps deepen that knowledge as well. So I think that's a really lovely idea. And hopefully at the end of that lesson, everyone can have the Reiki characters that they've written themselves, with a brush and ink, and kind of have that experience. I think that's a really nice idea. We will then travel to Koyasan, or Mount Koya. So this is a really special place. It's the mountain retreat founded by Kobo Daishi, or Kukai, who brought esoteric Japanese teachings from China to Japan. And these teachings include things like initiation, right? The Reiki initiations are derived from these esoteric Buddhist initiations. Things like manifesting a Buddha or a Bodhisattva in your body by using symbols and mantras, which I believe helped influence Usui Sensei's teachings about using symbols and vocalization and visualization as part of the Reiki practice. So yeah, I've never taken a group to Koyasan before. I'm very excited about that. The photo on the top right is from Kyoto. The photo on the bottom right is from this really beautiful and sacred place in Koyasan. Photos don't really do it justice, but it is a cemetery in the forest that has been active for over 1,000 years. So many of the gravestones, the trees are just completely covered in moss. There's huge cedar trees that are toppling over some of the stones. And this place is known as the Okunoin, the inner sanctuary of the mountain, of the temple. And this is where also Kukai, it is said, is in eternal samadhi, that he's been meditating. He never died, really. He's been meditating for 1,200 years and kind of watching over humanity. So it's a very special, kind of mysterious, powerful place. And I think it's a great idea to take a Reiki group there. We would stay overnight in a temple. They make dinner for us, a vegetarian, Buddhist style dinner. There's usually an opportunity to do a kind of meditation in the temple as well. They probably do a chanting practice and some meditation. I've been initiated into this lineage as well. And so I can also teach people some of the chants, the mantras, and things like that, the visualization practices, if you're interested. Just the beginning practices. I am a low-level practitioner. I haven't been initiated to the higher levels of Shingon, but I do know the basic practices. So after spending a day on Koyasan, we would return to Kyoto. At the end of the trip, we usually have kind of a free day because some people want to go to more temples, some people want to go shopping, some people want to get a massage. We kind of have some time built in for while you're still with your guide. So you have me, you have a Japanese language guide. We can help facilitate different, and you have Kristen also translating for Danish if anyone needs translation. So we're able to help facilitate some experiences on that last day, and then we have our farewell dinner, and then our final breakfast. Okay, so maybe is this a good time to? Well, let me just do one. I have one slide left. Let me do my last slide, and then we can take some questions. So we don't quite know exactly the cost of the trip. The travel agency, we had asked them, hey, we have this event on July 1st. Could you please get us the quote by then? And they were not able to. They said it's been very busy in the Japanese travel. the Japanese travel industry has been very busy recently, so they said another week or two to work on the quote. But this is the rough price of the trip in Danish kroner or in euros. I didn't do a British pounds. Sorry, Suzanne. Um, but there's still a few factors. The price might go up or down a little bit. One thing is about the exchange rate, right? We pay them in Japanese yen. So if the yen gets stronger, it's been quite weak lately, the price might go up a little bit. But roughly somewhere in this ballpark, 25,000, 26,000 Danish kroner, it seems. This would include all accommodations. So 6 nights in Kyoto, 1 night in Gifu, 1 night at a temple in Koyasan. All the breakfasts, 3 or 4 dinners, depending on, I'm not exactly sure about the Gifu night yet, if we're going to do a group dinner. If we, for example, stay at a hot springs hotel in Gifu, dinner would likely be part of the cost of the hotel. So that would be a night of dinner. So 3 or 4 nights of dinners. As I said, there will be myself as well as a Japanese guide and Kristen for any Danish language needs. And also, having been on this trip before, Kristen and also Suzanne, if she comes, I think also have some maybe help in terms of being able to explain some things or give advice on certain things. During the trip, like once the trip starts till the time the trip ends, all transportation is included. So that includes, we probably are going to rent a bus once or twice to go to Gifu, maybe to go to Koyasan as well. Bus is the easiest way. We ride some trains, we take some taxis. That's all included in the cost of the trip. Also, the admissions for various temples included in the cost of the trip. It's just easier to organize it all like that. The guide takes care of all the tickets and all the admissions and things like that. The cost of the trip does not include airfare, so that you arrange that on your own, as well as transportation to Kyoto, where the trip starts at the hotel in Kyoto. The travel agency can help arrange some transportation, but it's at your own cost. So if you, for example, get a round trip ticket to Tokyo, some people like to go to Tokyo after the trip, see the grave of Usui Sensei there, as well as maybe do some sightseeing and some shopping. You would have to get to Kyoto. It's not that hard. There's the train, the bullet train goes from Tokyo to Kyoto. There's lots of international tourists. They have lots of English-speaking staff at the train stations. It's not that hard to arrange, but yeah, that part you're kind of on your own to get to Kyoto and to get home from Kyoto. Lunches are on your own, so that you pay for yourself, but they tend to be quite inexpensive. Maybe, I don't know, in kroner, 6 or 7 euros, I think for a lunch is pretty typical. And then some of the dinners are also free, like on your own dinners. As well, if you want to participate in different ceremonies, at Mount Kurama, there's a ceremony, a blessing you can receive, the Shinto ceremony as well. These are not included in the cost of the trip. We'll collect money during the trip if you want to participate in the ceremonies, receive blessings from the priest at Kurama or from the priest in Taniai. As well as, of course, if you're buying souvenirs, you're on your own in terms of the budget. And then also, we do usually collect some money for the Japanese guide, and it's not a tremendous amount of money, right? I think it's about 15 euros a piece or something like that. It should be sufficient. If you're interested in the trip, Kristen will be taking deposits. So again, we have to finalize the final cost of the trip, but the deposit will be 1,750 or 1,750 Danish kroner. And so Kristen will take care of collecting all of that. So thank you, Kristen. And I think that's all I have. And there's, again, a photo from Kyoto and from Kurama here. So I think that's all I have in terms of prepared materials. I'm very happy to take questions. And,
I want to
anything.
add
Oh, Kristen wants to add.
something.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I want to add that is it okay for everyone I do this in English, or would you prefer me to do it in Danish? English is fine. Yeah, nobody says no. Okay. Er der nogen, der har brug for at tale dansk i stedet for engelsk? Nej, good. So I want to say that my experience of from October, of course, the prices will not be exactly the same in May 26, but I found it actually more inexpensive than expected.
Mhm.
Uh, and when I finally got home and did my accounts, I was surprised at how little money I actually spent on lunches and stuff. So just to say that I spent somewhere between 4,500 to 5,000 Danish kroners on on top of the price of the trip, and that was for lunches and dinners and souvenirs and whatever. So just to say, it doesn't have. Of course, it can be more expensive, but it doesn't have to be more expensive than around that neighborhood. And I want to say about the ceremonies. Justin mentioned that there will be extra fees if you want to join some of the ceremonies at Mount Kurama, for instance. And then you get things for you. You get blessings, right?
But but
Which was
also but even if you don't want to pay for it, you can still sit and
yeah, yeah,
experience the ceremony, but you just don't receive the blessing
yes.
or the yeah, Kristen was holding up they're like talismans, a amulets, and these are all blessed for various things, for health, for
I
success.
have so many different blessings in this one. This is all these extra ones where like you could actually like mark off what do you want to bless? Your family, your business, your health, your and I was just like, yeah, one of these and one of these and one of these. So so you get something and you get the pleasure of hearing a Buddhist monk try to pronounce your name in in Danish. And for some reason they mixed up mine. So my last name was suddenly the place that I live. So it was Kristin Gilleleje instead of Kristin Bjergbakke. But I think the blessing probably found me anyway. So but this is like these extra things you get that you can put on your altar at home, right? And then I wanted to add that there are some free time here and there that doesn't it's not very apparent when you look at the program, but there are like the day when we're going leaving for Gifo, we'll probably have free time in the morning, for instance.
Yeah.
That was one thing.
And when we
And
get back from Koyasan that night,
yes,
yeah,
also, yeah.
there'll be
And the
some.
Koya-san is well, I want to pay some credit here for someone who's present, Lotus, because Lotus is a student of mine, a client of mine, and she told me that she went to Japan years ago before being at all spiritual as I remembered it.
I don't
And
know if it was. I think we were. I mean, we're always is spiritual. I think it's just about connecting to it, right? But yeah, that's true. I went to Mount Koya when I studied my MBA, so it was my entire MBA class. We went to Tokyo, and then we went to Kyoto, and then we went to Mount Koya, and was actually staying at this temple lodging, and also exactly as you were explaining, Justin, this beautiful, beautiful place. And we had this opportunity that we could actually ask if you wanted to talk to a monk, and I did that. So I went to his room, and he was a Shinto priest, so he can be married, and he was, and had tea. And I think that was my first kind of like, hello, this is a path to go. So at least later on, it kind of led me to seek refuge in Buddhism, but I ended up in Tibetan Buddhism. But I think it's I was so happy to see it. I didn't know that you were going to put it in the program, but I got all excited. I went there in 2010, so that would be like a 16-year return. That would be really, really great.
yeah, well, I told Justin that I heard about this, and is that possible for us to do? Because I thought it sounded amazing. Justin,
Also,
well, our trip, Suzanne, Justin, and I were on in October, went to Mount Hiei. Is that how we pronounce it, Justin? Which is
Yep.
also this amazing mountain with Buddhists. I think you said it was like the Buddhism's answer to the Vatican. I think you said
Something
at
like
one
that.
point,
Something
yeah.
it's the mother, they often call it the mother of Japanese Buddhism. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's certainly, yeah.
Yeah, but I had the feeling that if we could do Mount Koya, that would be different and more special, staying with the monks, having
Yeah.
dinner with the monks, morning ceremony at 6, and then taking walks at the cemetery and stuff like this. So it's inspiration from Lotus, and then I was like, Justin, can we do this? And yeah,
And
yes,
also the type of Buddhism there, it's like the closest thing to Tibetan Buddhism in Japan is, right? The
Yeah.
deity yoga and the mantra stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There must have been, maybe there was a reason. That's,
Yeah.
it was, yeah, but I really feel like this is, I feel really happy that this is a closing loop right now, returning. I can only say that's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
wow.
It's
And
amazing.
so I'm just gonna be amazing re-experiencing with another life wisdom or maybe awareness. I think really stepping into awareness this time. Yeah, it's beautiful. Wow.
Thank you, Lotus. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and for more practical stuff, before I leave it over to questions as well, I also want to emphasize what Justin said about finding your way around on your own. And arriving in an airport, whether it's Osaka or Tokyo, whatever, it is very easy because well, it's in English. I was surprised. Yeah, there are English signs. People at the airport and the train station speaks English. And it's like I took the Kitty train, the Hello Kitty train from Osaka airport to Kyoto main train station, and I think I paid in kroners like 150 kroners, 160 kroners for that trip, and then it was a short ride in a taxi. So it's not that expensive, that extra gift. And the Shinkansen, the bullet train from between Kyoto and Tokyo, is about 800, 900 kroners at least one way in October. So it's not like really outrageously expensive. You want to expand the trip. And could we just really do a short one about the possibility of expansion?
Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah.
So, so actually, Kristen and Suzanne kind of teamed up. They didn't know each other before, but they both had expressed interest in going to Tokyo after the trip. And so they became a team. And I believe Keiko helped you buy the Shinkansen ticket to go. Is that right? And the travel agency booked you a hotel there. Is that right?
We booked
You
hotels
ended up
already
doing
in
it.
advance. Yeah.
But these days, I mean, booking.com or whatever, hotels.com, it's very easy. Like, but compared to when I first went to Japan in 1999, and there wasn't, websites in English where you could book a hotel. There wasn't, English speaking staff at all the major train stations and signs in English. So compared to going, 20, 30 years ago, it's a quite user-friendly experience, which is why Japan is one of the most popular destinations. I think actually this year more people went to Japan than any of like international tourists to Japan than any major European city. More than Paris, more than London, I mean, it's like become the big destination in a sense in the world. And so they have lots of infrastructure to make that possible.
Yeah.
If you are interested in going to Tokyo, I'm happy to give recommendations for various things. One reason I don't bring the tour to Tokyo anymore is because the temple where Usui Sensei's grave is, the woman who is like the temple wife, who is like the guardian of the temple, doesn't want Reiki groups going there. She put out a kind of press release in a sense saying no more than 4 people at a time should be coming to Usui's grave. No commercial tours, no tour guides. And so if you're interested in making a pilgrimage to Usui Sensei's grave in Tokyo, which I think is a really beautiful experience, there's a huge memorial stone that was erected by his students, and I can give you a translation of what it says on the stone. That it's a really nice experience going there, but I can't, bring a big group there anymore like we used
You are
to.
being recognized, Justin.
Yes. Oh yeah. She would see me and just come up, like this at the gate, like don't come in, like,
True.
so
But it
yeah.
is possible and it's not difficult. And Suzanne and I did it. We got a little hand-drawn map from Justin, which we lost. And Susanna, I never admitted this. I found it 2 months later at the bottom of my suitcase. Susanne was like, "You have it." I said, like, "No, no, you have it." So we just walked the cemetery with our Reiki hands, and then we found it at last. Yeah. No, but it is a beautiful trip, and it's very calm at the cemetery. And if people want to go, continue a couple of days to Tokyo, we will find out a way, and probably I'll go with you. And we can do, there's some cafes close by, and we can do little like 2, 3, 4 people at a time, and the rest will be at the cafe, and we can go to the cemetery. So it's possible.
It's possible.
Yes.
And the other, I would say, there's a couple of other, Reiki related places in
The
Tokyo.
Meiji Temple, the Meiji
The
Shrine.
Meiji Shrine, yeah. So
Yes.
when Usui Sensei's first dojo is right in a neighborhood that today is a very popular neighborhood with young people called Harajuku. It was just kind of funny when I tell that to Japanese people that the dojo was in Harajuku, they laugh because it's like today it's like, I don't know what the equivalent is in anywhere else in the world. It's like, the Greenwich Village or something in New York, but even much crazier though. And so I think one reason he had it there is because Usui in his teachings really stressed the Meiji Emperor as a spiritual inspiration, and this is the shrine that had been built to house the spirit of the Meiji Emperor and Empress. And so this shrine is in the middle of one of the craziest, busiest, neighborhoods in Tokyo, is a real refuge. It's like an urban forest. And so
Beautiful park surrounding it. Yes.
yeah. So going there also, I think, is a kind of Reiki relevant experience. And I also I know the address for where Hayashi Sensei's clinic was. So where Hawayo Takata went to go study with Hayashi and learned Reiki. Today, those old buildings are gone. There's a big new religious building there. But I can also, if you're interested in, retracing the footsteps of Hawayo Takata in Tokyo, I can also, mention that as another possible place to check out.
Thank you. I have some questions about Reiki in Japan and in Europe, but before I do that, does anybody here have questions directly regarding the program or the trip? No, 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 no. So Justin, if you don't mind, could you enlighten us a little bit on let's say, the difference or the similarities between Japanese Reiki and Western Reiki? And specifically, like I have 2 master candidates, one who is not present here. When he will look at the recording, his master will be very like, "Why are you not here, Kim?" The other one is here. Thank you. And he was like, "Yeah, but what is the difference, and how is Reiki actually spread in Japan compared to the West?" Would you share a little
Sure.
bit about that?
Yeah. I think I have a whole recording on YouTube somewhere where I talk about this in more depth, so I can try to find that and send you a link or something. But first of all, I want to say I think the idea that there is like Japanese Reiki and Western Reiki is a bit of an oversimplification. As I think anyone here knows, within so-called Western Reiki, there's a lot of different types of practices that abound, and some practices I think try to really uphold the teachings of Hawayo Takata in a particular way that actually preserve aspects that are thought of as, Japanese. And at the same time, even some of the so-called Japanese lineages also have adapted, have changed in different ways and incorporated, new influences into them as well. So the idea of this dichotomy of like a pure traditional Japanese style Reiki and this, evolved, adapted Western style Reiki, I think is not entirely accurate, just to start off by saying that. But some of the major differences between the Japanese lineages and the Western style lineages or the Takata lineages, one of them is that in Japanese Reiki, there's something called Reiju, which is when you come together with your teacher, if you're not yourself a teacher, if you're, maybe like a level 1 or level 2 practitioner, that your teacher will give something called Reiju, which is a kind of empowerment, which actually in some Takata lineages, they've preserved this as what they call Reiki blessing. It's something that Wanya Tuan taught. Other Takata style lineages have stopped doing the Reiki blessing, but the Reiki blessing is close to this Reiju idea, where in many Takata lineages, you get your initiations and then that's it, right? You're initiated, no need for more empowerments from your teacher. Whereas in the Japanese, there will be regular meetings where the teacher gives Reiju. Yeah.
Was it that night when we were having the Reiki share at the temple in Kyoto? We
Yes.
were given a Reiki, right?
Yes, that's
Yes.
right.
Okay.
That if
Yeah.
you're interested in experiencing that, when we go to the Reiki share, anyone who wants Reiju, it's like an open Reiki share. You sit, on a bench, you put your hands in gasho, they come over and they do a Reiju on you, and they do that for anyone who wants one. And it's not an initiation, but it's
Very nice.
related to what we do as the Reiki initiations. Yeah.
And it feels very nice to receive it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's one thing that's different in the Japanese lineages. Another thing is different is that the Western lineages, Hawaii Takata developed the foundation treatment where there are a series of, and depending on your lineage, 12, 15, 16 hand positions that you can treat anybody for anything, right? The foundation treatment for like a 1 hour treatment. Whereas the Japanese lineages tend to
Okay, so he will be back. Isn't that what he said? Temporarily frozen and he will be back.
stand on that spot for much longer. Oh,
You
sorry,
were
did it?
you were gone for 10 seconds.
Okay, sorry. You're in the Japanese lineage, your hands may get drawn to a particular spot, and then you might treat that spot for much longer than 5 minutes. You might keep your hand in a particular spot for 10, 15, 20 minutes, feeling the vibrations, get stronger and then maybe fade away, and then they start again, and then they fade away again, and going through maybe several rounds of that or cycles of that, what they call hibiki or vibrations. That's something that also kind of distinguishes, I think, the Japanese style. On the other hand, Hawaii Takata told her students, listen to your hands, right? That let Reiki guide you, let Reiki teach you. And so I think in some Takata style lineages, there still is that kind of wisdom or that teaching. And it depends on how you use the foundation treatment. I think in some lineages, it's a little more like orthodox, where it's like, okay, this is what you do. You do this on everybody. In other styles, they say, okay, this is a basis, right? This is a tool you have, but listen to your hands, listen to your intuition, let Reiki teach you. And so I think some lineages still have a bit more of that, listening to that sensations you get in your hands, or, intuitive knowledge that you receive during treatment, in terms of the best way to treat. So yeah, I mean, I think for me, those are the kind of maybe the two major things. And the other thing, I guess, is in terms of advancement in going from one level to another level. The Japanese style would have, regular meetings of the organization, where the teacher can kind of monitor your progress. There may be certain requirements, like you have to come to a certain number of meetings before you qualify to go to the next level, or you might have to treat for a certain number of hours before you qualify to go to the next level. Whereas I think, a lot of Western style lineages don't really have that close ongoing relationship between the teacher and the student. Again, it depends on the lineage and it depends on the teacher. But I think that's another, it's in the book I talk about the group membership model of the Japanese styles versus like the practitioner certification model of the Takata lineages. So yeah. Oh, and also the precepts are different. So the Japanese precepts would translate literally to, just for today, do not anger, do not worry, be grateful, do your work well, and be kind to people. where Hawayo Takata made some changes to that, right? In the USR, right? So that you have, honor your parents, teachers, and elders. Japanese people don't need to be told that, right? She added that, I think, and I argue, some people say she like westernized Reiki, and I think that's an example where she actually, I think, codified certain things from Japanese culture to try to help her students understand what it's like to be Japanese a little bit more, right? So saying honor your, honor people in authority positions, honor your, social superiors. That's something that's such a classic part of Japanese culture, right? The kind of respect for hierarchy, respect for parents, respect for teachers. And I think she saw it as something that was missing in her, hippie white students in the 1970s, right, who were taught to question authority and, right, to be kind of radicals. So she, I think, changed the precepts a little bit, taking, I think, the gratitude and the kindness ones and combining that into the fifth precept, right? Show your gratitude to every living thing. It's kind of, I think it takes that third one and the fifth one and combines them and introduced to make space for this new precept about honoring your parents, teachers, and elders. Also, earn your living honestly. It's a little bit of a different take. I think it has a little bit more of kind of like a professional ethics aspect to it, as I think she was kind of in Japan. Reiki tended to be more of like a folk art, something that people practiced. There is evidence that there were fees for treatment that organizations would accept, but it was definitely something that a lot of people did for friends and family without charge. Whereas Takata, was interested in making kind of this possibility to be a Reiki professional, to open a practice, to open a teaching practice. I think because she saw that as an avenue to bring Reiki to the West and have it be kind of part of this, alternative medicine, or, what becomes complementary medicine kind of landscape. And again, have people be able to dedicate their lives to be, Reiki professionals. Yeah.
Mm, thank you. Do you know, is Reiki as widespread in the Japanese society? No, it's a
No, yeah.
Western thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are Reiki schools in Japan, there are Reiki practitioners in Japan, but I feel like when I tell people in Canada, US, Europe, people from India, oh, like I work on Reiki, a lot of people say, oh, my aunt does Reiki, or, oh, my mom does Reiki, right? Like it's a pretty common thing. Whereas in Japan, like most people have not heard of Reiki. It's even seen with some suspicion by Japanese people. It's, is it a cult? Is it, what, that there are a number of religious organizations in Japan that do hands-on healing, that are seen kind of with suspicion by the Japanese public. At the same time, I went to this conference in Osaka a couple of years ago, and there was a presentation by a representative, I think the president of the Japanese Holistic Nursing Association, and she was talking about kind of initial efforts and activities, bringing Reiki treatments to elder care, to hospice care, things that I think were probably 20 years ahead in Europe and North America. That there's a lot of places where that's been pretty well integrated. And even in South America as well, Brazil, national hospitals have Reiki programs. So there's a lot of places around the world where that's already happened, and that's kind of part of the medical landscape. Whereas in Japan, I think they're really at the very beginning of that.
Well, that's interesting, huh? There will be like this reciprocity of giving and learning and sharing and giving back and receiving more, I guess. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Japanese lineages that exist today have mostly sprouted up in response to Takata style Reiki coming back to Japan, and then people looking into the roots of the practice and kind of rediscovering and reviving the older methods. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So, Anyone
Oh, and
question?
actually, one more thing. I know someone in Tokyo who teaches both Western style Reiki and Japanese style Reiki, and he says most Japanese people are more interested in Western style Reiki than Japanese style Reiki. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please, questions for Justin of any kind? No. I was wondering, Suzanne, if you would mind perhaps sharing just whatever what really stands out about the trip you did in October with this. You're still muted. You're still muted. You're still muted. She can't even hear me. Muted. Mm.
Is that
Yes.
better?
Yes.
Am I
Yes.
there?
Yes.
Okay. I think just the whole experience, how do I explain it? I don't know what you found, Kirsten, but I found my Reiki seems to have developed more.
Yes.
There's been quite a change, and certainly reactions with when I'm giving Reiki. People who've been before have gone, what, you know, it feels like it's on a different level.
Yep.
But for me, being able to visit Mount Karama, which was, I mean, when we stood on the energy spot,
I was just thinking about that. It was amazing. Yes.
that was just incredible. You know, I sort of thought, oh yeah, got to stand on these bits of concrete, you know, and it's like, ooh, what's happened there? Yeah, the whole experience was incredible, but being able to go and give thanks and just to give my appreciation and say thank you to that location was just a dream come true. I can't recommend the trip enough. Justin is incredible. He has so much knowledge, and this is why I actually want to do it again, because my menopausal brain doesn't always hold onto everything. So I need more of Justin's information. And this time I'm going to bring a hardback copy of the book, hopefully not printed upside down, and I'm going to get Justin to sign it. But no,
I got him to sign my book. Yeah.
I know you did. If you remember, I only had it on the Kindle. But no, the whole experience is incredible. Have we got the same guide by any chance, Kiko?
It hasn't been confirmed yet, but one of the things Keiko-san was saying that she'd like to be more involved with the planning of the trip earlier. So I told Windows, once we have kind of the price confirmed and we start getting the itinerary more solidified, we really need to have the guide more involved with the trip earlier. So we should be able to know that sooner than later. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, the whole trip's incredible. And
But
being
yeah,
able to
Keiko or her husband Hiro, who's also led a number of Reiki trips before too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
and one of them is likely to be the guide. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent.
Yeah.
But
Thank
no,
you,
I mean,
Suzanne. Yeah.
just Japan is just incredible, isn't it? The people are so respectful, it's calm, it's quiet. And I spent a lot of time, for anybody else who's looking at doing this, as you said about the transportation is quite easy. I did get quite stressed about it beforehand. And I kept saying to myself, you don't need to do this. But I did. I read up on things and have this and have that. And I tried to suss out the train system, and it completely gave me a meltdown. And I get to Japan, and Kiko said, or the guide I ordered for the day because I arrived early, took me off, showed me how to get a ticket, and I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, it's really quite simple. So simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I 100% do this trip if you can.
We did not pay Suzanne to say this.
I was about to say I need to take now the
And in fact-
recording. I'm gonna cut Suzanne's part of this recording out. I'm gonna put that on a reel on my Facebook page as a advertisement. This is priceless.
Yeah, no, it is so good, and yes, I am absolutely looking at returning, and I would love to be able to do this again.
It would be great to have you with us again. I want to mention again what Suzanne said about this, about standing on the energy spot at Mount Kurama, and I'm guessing some of you don't know what we're talking about. I know some of you have heard me talk about it at my evening after the trip, but they so at Mount Kurama, at the temple that Justin showed us a picture of in the beginning, in front of the temple. And I didn't know this. I just came up exhausted. I have a bad hip, right? I was halfway up the mountain and I still had to go all the way up to the top. And then in front of the temple, there's this spot on the ground marked with a triangle. And people were standing there having photos taken. And I'm asking Suzanne, what? Yes, thank you.
There it is.
I could see you were looking for it, Justin. Yes. So right there at that triangle in the middle, when you stand there, you are like in a power portal being uploaded with the high frequency energy, I would say. Yeah. It's amazing. And it's like an super intensive Reiki Reiki channel, I would say. And this being at Mount Kurama, for me, it was, yeah, of course, I believe every part of that story that for some reason, in some way, Usui Sensei did go to Kurama and he did sit up there for 21 days. And there's a lot of other aspects to it. But sensing that power, that portal of pure high frequency energy, just being there on the mountain and in the ground, I was like, wow, this is really a holy mountain. And it made so much more sense to me, the whole story, even in the Western version. And it was really amazing. And I was almost pain-free for 10 days afterwards, standing there for 5 minutes. Yeah. So, and I also want to repeat what Suzanne said about visiting Japan changes you. And if it was because we were standing on that
Come
portal, I
on.
don't know. But I've heard coming home from friends and from students, clients, they were like, your Reiki is different. It feels different. It's more powerful. Even my distant treatments somehow were more powerful afterwards. So perhaps it's something about coming home somehow um, to a frequency of healing and light and wisdom and love that we somehow, all because we have been attracted to Reiki originally, and now we're there and it can open up and blossom somehow. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it is really special. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So we're about an hour now. Could we just briefly, could you show the program again, Justin? Because I
Sure.
think there were two participants who joined us a little late. Just have the program up, if possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yes. So, and the reason why we also have this, that we just have welcome dinner in Kyoto, that we don't arrange it with plane tickets to Japan, is because it's more flexible for everyone. And some people want to come in a few days early, somebody wants to stay a few days longer. And it's just so much more easy because people can travel from all over Europe, not just Denmark, and it doesn't have to affect the price. And I wanted to say that that last day, on day 8, free day in Kyoto and then farewell dinner, it is possible to return to Mount Kurama
Yeah.
that day. And Justin and I will help you, perhaps even accompany you, one of us or whatever. We can always go there, do that, the details, but it is possible because it's like 40 minutes, 45 minutes by train from Kyoto, something like that.
Something like that.
And
Yeah.
so if you want to go for your private day at Kurama, yeah, on day 8, it is possible. And when we get to Kurama on the first day, on the what is that, day 5, there will be the ceremony at the temple, and then it's voluntary if you want to join in or not, to get the little extra blessings. And then when we go to the top of the mountain, where the spot of where we believe that Usui Sensei sat for 21 days, we will do a little meditation there, some self-practice, and have a special moment there. And you know what, Justin? Danes, they don't shop so much. So I'm
Okay.
pretty sure that we won't get stuck in the temple shop for an hour with the group we're going to collect. So I think we're going to have plenty of more time at the top of the mountain instead.
But what about collecting goshuin?
Yeah, true. But still, we will manage, I think so.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you. That's
Yeah,
just what I
I was just thinking, are we traveling back in time or what?
back in time.
Yeah,
Oh, 16, May 16, Justin. Yeah,
Mhm.
it says May 2016.
Oh, yeah, mistake.
That's the magic of Reiki. You know? Yeah, yeah,
You'll feel 10 years younger, that's why.
that's right.
So, can I ask a question? Because obviously, when we went to the Karama Fire Festival. Because we won't be doing that, will we be walking down the other side to
We
Kibun?
can. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
And, I'm open to what people want to do. There's also the hot spring has reopened up there as well. So if there's people who want to go to the Kurama hot spring, we could also
det
do
lyder som en meget fed idé.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Final questions or comments, anyone? For Justin or for me? Nope. I will be sending out an email probably tomorrow with the with a link for the recording of our talk and some info on if you have more questions or how to proceed from here if you're interested in joining us, right?
Thank you. And as I said, I think the travel agency said they should be able to confirm the price in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
By the middle of July.
Yeah.
And also, I want to maybe, as I mentioned, once they have a quote, then maybe ask to work out, double check the itinerary. They have a professional tour guide, double check the itinerary to make sure we don't want to make any last minute changes or something like that. No.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think that's it. Oh, we have more pictures on now. Hi, Henriette. Yeah. Yeah, that should be it for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you, Justin, so much for preparing this for us. And I'm looking forward to it, and I hope to see some of you. We have a max of 16. Yeah. The group is not gonna be, yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna have a big
No.
it's a little flexible, but yeah, around 16,
Yeah,
17
12,
maybe,
16
but
is where we're aiming for
between 10
participants.
and
Yeah.
10, 12, 15, 16, something in that range.
But not above 18. Wasn't that what you said?
Oh, no, too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
So
18 is too big, I think. Yeah.
okay. Oh, and you can bring a friend, as long as they have Reiki, we would prefer that, some kind of Reiki.
But there are I've taken trips where people have a spouse or something who comes on the trip. They don't necessarily do Reiki themselves, but they're kind of interested in it. They want to learn more about Japanese, religion and history, and maybe also learn about what their partner does, experience Reiki in that way. So I've definitely had that experience before. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And see you in Kyoto, right?
Yeah.
Or in
Thank you very
Denmark.
much.
Hope
You
so.
will. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
you. Bye.
Bye.